This is John.
This is Steve, coming to you from Flint's beautiful East Side, Studio 1714.
Today we're sitting here with Lary Holland, and Larry called us on our Skype phone here in the studio and left a message. We called him back, and he's bringing something to our attention that we were pretty much unaware of, and it's this idea of equal parenting, and also he's connected to equal parenting. It's the friend of the court system. And
why did you call us?
Yes.
Well, I called you to actually get the word out about equal parenting, House Bill 4564, which is Michigan's presumption of equal custody, allowing kids to spend substantially an equal amount of time with both parents instead of being excluded from one of their parents' lives, and also to discuss the friend of the court and how they're getting pretty out of control with the recommendations and breaking up homes in order to generate revenue for the state.
Which is pretty insidious, I think, with their whole method of their madness and everything behind it.
Well, originally they began as a program or an agency to serve only the needy, and unfortunately they've expanded to also include the greedy. So they are focusing on middle and upper class families and are nothing more than a collection agent for these middle and upper class families.
Now it's like, and there are also serious abuse of power, which I've seen. I see the power problems of abuse of government, and this seems to be fitting just exactly what I see is abuse of government, agencies.
It's definite abuse of power. Essentially, we have an employee of a judge that makes recommendations in which both the judge and the friend of the court agency derive a benefit from. Every time that they create a child support order, every time that they establish paternity in a family court case, they get paid. They get paid by the federal government. Every time that they expend $1 involved in a domestic relations case, they receive $2 more from the federal government. Very lucrative to break up families.
Okay, the other day you had mentioned to me yesterday about how going to jail over your money and that it's not the same thing about the debt.
Oh, basically what's happening is that people are routinely being sent to jail for a debt. Basically, the friend of the court is kind of the gatekeeper along with the judges for debtor's prison here, again, in the United States and particularly in the state of Michigan. We now have debtor's prison for civil debts.
Civil debts, and that's a violation of the Constitution.
Certainly, in my opinion, it's a violation of the 13th Amendment, which basically has abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, both of which are components for part of the programs that the friend of the court actually derive benefits from.
So this is a case of a civil case, not rather a criminal court system, and that's the most galling part about this.
Yeah, right. That's what caught me off guard. I'm like, because you had made the statement on, well, how can they put me, that's the best thing you can have done is be put in the jail. When you had said that yesterday, I kind of,
Sure. What's happening is that every day, on any particular given motion day or contempt of court day, they basically, through the friend of the court and the judges, send people to jail because they're behind on their civil judgment or civil debt, often coined child support. Essentially, they claim that you're being sent to jail for a contempt of court, which is different, but we all know that a debt isn't necessarily just a monetary item, but is also a performance of some act. And just because you cannot perform some act is not grounds for you to be thrown in jail, but they're routinely doing it.
So now this is clearly not a case, and we want to make this clear too, of people not wanting to pay, their child support, whatever it is called. It's an instance of like where it's like the way they're doing this is actually just a total violation of the Constitution guarantees, and it's not really going to help a person who really truly wants to pay what they owe, because how can they pay if they're in jail?
See, that's the thing. That's what raised my thing about it, because I mentioned it to the vice president of my club, Rick. He's been paying child support out of his checks since 1982, and he was just telling me here a couple of years ago, they come and picked him up, put him in jail for 14 days.
Well, there's two things in where that one could argue that your constitutional rights are being, tromped on, and the first one is being thrown in jail for a civil judgment, and the second one is having a protected liberty taken away from you or diminished without a trial by jury or by beyond a reasonable doubt standard. So parenting is a protected liberty. The friend of the court routinely takes away a significant amount of custody from a fit, willing, and caring parent and they assign all of the benefit nearly to one parent and most of the burden, including financial burden, to the other parent.
Now, you think this is unduly fair to males? I mean, typically.
Right now, the substantial amount of custody is being granted in the majority to mothers, which just happens to be because there's more women on welfare than there are men. So the state, if they can actually...
it's a double whammy.
Absolutely. If the state can grant custody to a welfare participant, they essentially are getting money. They're getting federal money from the welfare participant. They're getting federal money for the Title 4D case, and basically they have created an absent parent so that they keep bringing in federal money.
See, another issue too is that the kids who are born raised in single-parent families have more problems, like with truancy, delinquency, learning disabilities, other behavioral problems.
Socializing.
And those are all another bunch of social workers at the schools, more medications being prescribed. It's just like a ball. It's like a snowball.
It creates a lot of side economies, and that's something that is keeping fit, willing, and competent parents away from their kids because of all these other economies that have been created on the backs of our children.
And it's not the fact that parents want to be what they would say, how did you say that yesterday, deadbeat, dead broke.
That's right. They're not deadbeats, but they're dead broke. And one of the people that's standing in the way from keeping both fit parents and their children's lives is Brenda Clack. She's holding up House Bill 4564 right now, which is a presumption of equal custody for children to be involved with both their parents.
I'd like to urge people who watch this to call Brenda and ask why she's doing this. What's her reasoning behind not getting behind this, or at least bring it up to a vote? Because it is incumbent upon her to do this.
I'd like to bring her on here and ask her.
I would, yeah, if you want to
You're
respond
watching
to
this. I want an interview with that woman.
This is John.
This is Steve.
And this is Steve, 1714.